All right, guys, we're back by popular request to talk about scapular winging. Tessa is back as well, and we're going to get her actually on our little mic so you can hear some of her feedback. So a lot of questions coming in on our video about how to fix scapular winging, and a couple of things I want to clear up first before we get even into what's going on with Tessa. First off is scapular winging is a symptom of how you're moving throughout the day and all the forces that are enacting upon your body, right? So that means breathing, movement, training, sleeping, sitting, texting. All the things that you're doing are going to affect how that scapula is sitting on the rib cage. And at some point, for some of you, that could become dysfunctional, and that's when we see that winging start to happen because the forces aren't allowing that to sit flush, okay? So we really got to think big picture holistic with that. By the same token, there's not necessarily a specific set of corrective exercises that are going to just fix scapular winging, like, oh, now the scapular's back down and everything's good forever. This is about rebuilding healthy movement habits and understanding all the different triggers that could potentially be contributing to that, okay? So, with that in mind, Tessa, how you doing? And I'm gonna pull my mic off here. This is official interview mic, okay? But how are things going? Like, if people, one of the big things is like, hey, that chick ever fix her scapular winging, right? How are you feeling overall?
Pretty good. I would have to say a lot of the things that I've been doing is breathing. So breathing has been a big thing, just working on breathing through my stomach and out through the lower part of my ribs instead of in through my chest, which was a big thing. Something we didn't mention was that I do have thoracic outlet syndrome, so I am missing a rib on my right side, which right after surgery I was caught breathing like this. So I was breathing into my chest and I couldn't breathe unless I was down here. So that has a lot to do with why my shoulder blades were so wonky.
Yeah. By the way, I didn't know she had thoracic outlet syndrome until after the video too. Otherwise we would have addressed it. But yeah, that's just another factor, another background thing that we often see with that kind of breathing is scapular winging, thoracic outlet syndrome are often paired together.
Yeah, so that was a big thing is breathing, and then a lot of other things I've been doing is crawling, so backward crawling, and then protracting and retracting my scaps on the wall has really, I feel it has been like gluing them down where they should be in place. And I'm just getting more aware of what is gets up into my traps and what doesn't feel right anymore. So like when I'm deadlifting or when I've had a really heavy pull day, upper back, I know like that I need to get down on the ground and I need to breathe, that I need to do some rolling, or that sometimes even just like light jump roping releases the tension through my upper traps and through my scaps.
So you're kind of finding your own movement map about what works for you.
Yeah.
But I know from you, like big things were when we first started, you had pain in overhead movements, dysfunction when you're training for you were training for a bodybuilding meet. Now you're training for a powerlifting meet because you're all over the place, right? Which is awesome. You would say in general though, you're able to do the lifts that you need to do. Your function's basically restored. You're not having pain, essentially.
Yeah, I mean I haven't done any like military pressing or straight overhead stuff. Sometimes I will try to do it, but I'm always conscious of actually like using my shoulders instead of like my traps, which was a big thing. So sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. I just have to realize when it's not and actually focus on doing it right instead of just trying to push through. But a bunch of the other stuff that I do is fine.
Yeah, and so it was a success in general, but it's an ongoing process, an ongoing success. The one thing about Tessa too that's different than what a lot of people end up doing is she actually follows through and does the movements like every day. She's in here early, warming up, going through things, figuring out what works for her, picking my brain. So just because these are the set of movements that we gave you guys as a launching point to start, don't think that that's necessarily means that's gonna fix your unique set of issues. Come at it with a critical mind, figure out what works for you, what doesn't. Really judge it by how well your scaps are moving, how well you feel it connected during movements. If you're having any pain or anything like that, that's down the road. That's a lagging indicator. That means something already went wrong. So what we really want to look at is the function of the scapula, and honestly filming yourself doing some scapular movements where you can see your upper back could be really, really beneficial, so you can start getting an eye for what's happening when you're doing those movements. So we're going to show you guys in a minute a couple other movements you can try that we really like. I think we're going to show some breathing, some lat activation stuff and this cool version of the Scap car that would be pretty good. All right. Thank you, Tessa.
Welcome.
All right, guys. Coach Matt, Tessa here from Force Fitness and Performance, FreeFitGuy.com. We're just gonna go over really quick 3 more movements to really rebuild scapular function from the ground up. First thing we're gonna do is breathe. So we're gonna have Tessa go down on the ground. You guys have seen this before potentially, but there's a couple key points I wanna make. One is when most people breathe, they breathe in through their shoulders and their chest. And when they do that, creating extra tension, that's gonna drive the scapula into that kind of winged position, okay? So the first step is getting them to breathe down into the belly, okay? What most people do, and this can take a while, is they'll start sticking the belly out and in, and they'll restrict breathing in their chest, but to the point where they're actually not allowing lateral rib expansion or getting any movement into the sides and the lower back. We want this to be like you're filling an inner tube all around the middle of her body, and she's doing a great job. This is so much better than what it was even a couple months ago. This is awesome, okay? So she's being able to take a full deep breath. Her stomach's moving up, but at the same time, she's filling to the side and her ribs are moving out and in. That is key, okay? So this is how we want to be able to breathe at any time, but creating a little bit of practice time at the beginning of your session to do this, crucial, okay? Second piece is we're gonna work on moving the scap through a full range. So, okay? Everyone probably knows or loves the 3-point row, but we like working this from a straight arm position too. So, Scap car, controlled articular rotation, a la functional range conditioning. She's gonna make a big circle up, down, and in. And what I like to try to get people to do is really follow the contraction down the back. It's very subtle because you're just getting a little bit of upward and downward rotation of that scapula as you pull, okay? One big thing is just keeping that elbow straight. She does a pretty good job here. So as people pull down, they'll want to bend their elbow here to alleviate some of that tension up here. We want you to be able to control this. So only use as much weight as you can lift. Tessa's using a 15-pounder. I feel pretty good with my scap control. I use maybe 30 pounds, but I do reps of that on each side. And somewhere in that 5 to 10 rep range, 1 to 3 sets, mixed into your warm-up. You can even use this as a strength training component. And then the last thing we'll show is a lat pull-down activation, okay? Straight arm lat pull-down. Again, with scap function, we do a lot of straight arm stuff in the beginning, okay? So she's just got her wrists in neutral, the rope that we have this tied to, because this is a super janky setup. There you go.
Set it up like this.
Yeah, we don't actually do reps like this in the gym, but this fit into the camera shot. So she's pulling down, activating, trying to pull below her armpit, okay? Keeping relatively straight arm the whole time. And she's really focusing on driving this down and back, squeezing the armpit. Looks great, okay? And then we can check scapular winging through that motion too. And if she's just hanging out here and she's pulling down, I'm trying to get behind, there's no gap. She's like, yeah, that's awesome, okay? So try those 3 things. And again, find your own path into this stuff, figure out what works for you. We hope this helps, and thanks for all the feedback on the last video.